While helping her forgetful neighbor collect the laundry, Hui-ru notices bloodstains on the woman's pants. Worried, she quickly checks on her and realizes the old lady's pants are soaked with blood. They rush her to the hospital, but her husband later says the condition is not too serious and can be treated with medication. On the way home, they decide to stop by the zoo because his wife loves elephants. Even though she is sick, he still wants to make her happy, even if it is just by letting her see one. The next day, the husband invites their children and grandchildren over for a meal to celebrate their wedding anniversary. He plans to tell them about their mother's condition, but none of them seem to care. They are all busy staring at their phones. Even worse, they show no appreciation for the food and gifts their parents worked so hard to prepare. One daughter-in-law even sprays disinfectant around, as if everything in the house is dirty and covered in germs. A few days later, their friend receives a voice message from the husband and immediately panics. He rushes to their home, only to find a heartbreaking scene. The elderly couple is already lifeless in their bedroom, leaving him completely shocked and devastated. This is Love Never Ends. But before the truth behind this poor old couple is revealed, the story shifts to an elderly man named Wayai. Wayai lives with one painful emptiness in his life. He lost his wife long ago, and that loneliness has left him craving love and warmth. Deep down, he wants to love someone and be loved in return, but he is always too hesitant to express what he feels. Every day, Wayai keeps himself busy working as a three-wheeled vehicle driver. He takes passengers to the park, to school, and to many other places around town. His days seem lively and cheerful, but when night comes, he always returns to a quiet home and falls asleep alone. One day, as usual, Wayai arrives at the park and notices a commotion. Curious by nature, he immediately walks over to see what is happening. A scrap collector named Ding Shan is arguing with a park manager. The issue is a pile of collected items that is considered an eyesore, especially with an inspection scheduled later that afternoon. Unable to stand by, Wayai jumps in, siding with the manager and blaming Ding Shan and the other collectors for gathering scrap in a public space. Driven by the urge to act like a hero, Wayai goes too far. He swings the whip in his hand, scattering the pile of scrap everywhere. Seeing this, a middle-aged woman named Hui-ru, who also works as a scrap collector, rushes in and angrily stops him. In the chaos, the jade bracelet she is wearing breaks. Ding Shan looks panicked, but Hui-ru calmly says the bracelet is just a fake and not worth anything, then walks away. Later, when Wayai returns home, his daughter Lian asks him to take his grandson Ren to study traditional Chinese opera under a respected teacher named Mrs. Q. Known as a successor of classical opera, her training is seen as important for the child's future. As always, Wayai agrees and brings Ren to the teacher's house. But when the door opens, they are surprised to see Hui-ru standing there. That is when Wayai realizes she works as a helper in that house. While waiting, Wayai gets bored and takes a few sips from a bottle he brought along. Meanwhile, Hui-ru quietly observes him, noticing the safety pin holding his worn-out pants together, a small sign of a lonely and unkempt life. Not long after, Ren comes out in tears. Mrs. Kwao has decided that he has no talent and refuses to accept him as a student. Hearing this, Wayai becomes irritated and leaves with his grandson, still grumbling. As Wayai is off on his three-wheeled vehicle, Hui-ru quietly takes a shortcut through narrow alleys and reports him to a traffic officer, believing he is driving under the influence. But when the officer checks him, it turns out to be a misunderstanding. Lian had already replaced the alcohol in the bottle with mineral water, making it safe to drink. Realizing her mistake, Hui-ru feels awkward. She had only intended to get back at Wayai for what he did at the park. A few days later, Wayai's daughter still refuses to give up and asks him to try meeting the teacher again. So Wayai returns, only to find out that Mrs. Q is ill and unable to receive visitors. With no other choice, he leaves his phone number on a piece of cardboard, hoping she will contact him soon. As he walks away, he notices the pile of scrap in front of Hui-ru's house and suddenly gets an idea. He calls the fire department and reports the pile as a violation. Not long after, Wayai receives a call from the fire station. Hui-ru has been taken there because of the report, and she is clearly upset. With no money to pay the fine and her phone broken, she has no choice but to call the number written on the cardboard. Wayai quickly comes to help and pays the 501 fine for her. Before leaving, he also writes down his number again. But the officer finds it strange that the number matches the one used to make the report. Huiru realizes the truth and looks straight at Wayai. The old man can only lower his head and force an awkward smile. Once everything is revealed, Huiru becomes furious. She talks about how hard it is to earn money by collecting cardboard and plastic bottles. Hearing this, Wayai feels deeply guilty and immediately apologizes. He then helps load her scrap onto his three-wheeled vehicle and brings it to Dingshan's recycling station. But all of it is only worth 20 yuan. In that moment, Wayai realizes that Dingshan is also struggling, especially since his wife Huanxin suffers from Alzheimer's and needs constant care. One day, Wayai finds Huanxin sitting alone in the park, confused and lost, her feet dirty. Not long after, she loses control of herself. Wayai quickly calls Dingshan, then rushes to a clothing shop without caring about how others look at him. He buys her a new pair of pants and even gives her his own shoes so she can walk properly. Soon after, Dingshan arrives in a hurry and checks on his wife. He looks both relieved and happy to find her, but at the same time blames himself for not taking better care of her. From that point on, Wayai begins to show a deeper sense of compassion. It marks a slow but clear change in him. At the same time, his relationship with Huiru also begins to shift. What started with conflict slowly turns into something more meaningful, growing into a quiet emotional bond in the middle of their difficult lives. Wayai even takes the initiative to invite Huiru to the zoo, hoping to spend a simple but happy moment together. Since her phone is broken, he decides to give her another one. He takes an old phone that once belonged to his granddaughter. Even though the case looks bright and feminine, Wayai does not see it as a problem at all. One day, Wayai and Huiru visit Dingshan's house for lunch. During that moment, Dingshan thanks Wayai for his kindness toward Huanxin, while Wayai takes the chance to apologize for what he did at the park. Not long after, Dingshan's daughter suddenly shows up, asking for money because her husband is addicted to gambling. It turns out this is not the first time. Every few days, she comes back to take money from her parents. This situation leaves Dingshan's two sons feeling frustrated, to the point where they no longer want to come home for family meals. After lunch, Wayai finally gives the phone to Huiru. Afraid she might refuse it, he lies and says he found it by accident. After handing it over, he quietly hides nearby, watching her reaction from a distance. When Huiru opens the package, she finds the phone already set up with Wayai's WeChat account. A wide smile appears on her face. Seeing that, Wayai feels a warmth he has not felt in a long time. Even another elderly man nearby cannot help but smile at his behavior. From that moment on, Huiru adds Wayai on WeChat, and they begin messaging each other more often. Slowly, their connection grows into a late-life romance. As they become closer, Mrs. Ku eventually accepts Ren as her student. Wayai now uses his grandson's lessons as an excuse to visit more often. At the same time, Huiru carefully sews the torn edge of Wayai's pants, while Wayai becomes more active in helping with her work. Seeing her house filled with scrap, he willingly helps carry everything to Dingshan's recycling place. But the total only comes to 11 yuan, not even enough to cover the fuel cost. Even so, Wayai has never felt more satisfied because what truly matters to him is spending time with the woman he cares about. One day, Wayai attends a celebration for a co-worker's grandchild who is about to go abroad. He invites Huiru to come along, and she agrees. At the gathering, everyone shares stories and memories, creating a warm atmosphere. But things suddenly shift when the co-worker's son brings out a written agreement, asking everyone to sign a statement that he will not be responsible for anything that happens after they drink alcohol. He justifies it by saying that older people often ignore health checks and rely only on their own judgment. Then he brings up Wayai's late wife, which deeply hurts him. Without thinking, Wayai drinks a glass of alcohol and leaves the gathering, unsteady on his feet. Soon after, filled with regret, he opens up to Huiru about his late wife, who died from late-stage stomach cancer. Only now does he realize how much pain she must have endured, something he never truly understood at the time. He has lived with the feeling that others quietly blamed him for her death. In his emotional state, he wonders if Huiru sees him the same way, as a useless man. Unable to control himself, he ends up saying things that hurt her deeply. Huiru becomes upset and walks away, leaving him alone once again. One night, Wayai listens to a song with his granddaughter. It is a song he asked her to find, titled, "I Love You." To him, the title feels a bit too much, but his granddaughter believes that no conflict is too big to be resolved with those words. Her simple belief hits him deeply. As he is about to leave, she gently reminds him that no one is truly blaming him for the past. It is only him, holding onto that guilt and punishing himself over and over again. Those words stay with him. For so long, Wayji has lived as if everyone judged him. He becomes overly careful, always trying to please others, afraid of making mistakes. Without realizing it, he slowly loses himself and ends up hurting Huiru in the process. That night, something finally shifts inside him. He realizes it is time to be honest about what he feels, and the first thing he needs to do is fix things with Huiru. The next day, Wayai comes to return the phone, but Huiru greets him with a distant attitude. Not cold, but not warm either. He does not give up. That same night, he returns again, this time bringing a cake. Standing at her door, he sincerely admits that he let his emotions get the better of him and takes full responsibility for what he said. He hopes she can understand that he is just an old man who struggles to express himself properly. Then, with courage he never had before, Wayai finally confesses his feelings. He tells her that he truly likes her. It is a simple and honest confession, but one that carries all the emotions he has kept inside for so long. For him, there is a kind of love that becomes a lifelong regret if left unspoken. He promises not to repeat his mistakes. He even says he wants to stand by her side and help her collect scrap every day. As a gesture of apology, he gives her a jade bracelet to replace the one he broke. For the first time, they open their hearts to each other, and in that moment, they feel the kind of happiness usually reserved for young lovers just starting out. From that day on, Wayai begins living differently. He spends his days collecting scrap while enjoying a warm and growing relationship with Huiru. He takes her out to do simple things, treating her with care and attention, almost like a queen. Their days are filled with laughter. Their bond grows stronger, and their friendship with Dingshan becomes even closer. Whenever they have free time, they gather at his house, sharing stories and helping out however they can. Then one day, Huiru notices blood on Huanxin's pants and quickly brings her to the hospital. After the checkup, Dingshan says the condition is not serious and can be handled with medication. On the way home, they pass by the zoo. For some reason, Dingshan feels the urge to go inside and see an old elephant. Wayai explains that when an elephant senses its time is near, it quietly walks into the forest, searching for a peaceful place to rest before the end. Hearing that, Dingshan responds with a heavy feeling, as if realizing that at least the elephant knows where it is going in its final moments. A few days later, Dingshan gathers his family to celebrate his 45th wedding anniversary. All of his children and grandchildren come together, but despite the crowd, the atmosphere feels strangely empty. Everyone is busy with their phones, mumbling to themselves, barely connecting with one another. Even the small gestures of care go unnoticed. Dingshan has prepared wooden carvings as gifts for his children, handing them out one by one. But instead of appreciating them, one of the daughters-in-law treats them as dirty objects and sprays them with disinfectant. Even so, Dingshan and his wife continue trying to please their family. They hold back their feelings and do not dare to say anything. From the side, Wayai notices something painful. Even with so many children and grandchildren, the warmth of that family is gone. After dinner, everyone leaves one by one, and the house quickly returns to silence. The wooden carvings made with so much care are left behind on the table, as if they never mattered at all. In the following days, Wayai suddenly receives a voice message and becomes visibly shaken. He immediately brings Huiru with him to Dingshan's house. In the message, Dingshan calmly explains that by the time they hear it, he and his wife will likely already be gone. He apologizes for never telling the truth. His wife, Huanxin, has been suffering from stomach cancer for a long time, even before they met. He describes the constant pain she has endured. Even during her moments of clarity, she often begged to be allowed to die. But he never told their children, not wanting to burden them. At the same time, he blames himself for failing to raise them well, believing that is why they grew up not caring about their own parents. Then he asks Wayai for one final favor. He wants him to remove the tape sealing the house, so their deaths will look like an accident caused by smoke. That way, his wife will not have to suffer any longer, and their children will not be blamed. He admits that he has given his wife an overdose of sleeping pills, allowing her to fall into a peaceful, eternal rest. As he reflects on his life, he remembers the promise he made when they got married. He promised he would never leave her, not even once. And now he chooses to keep that promise, even in death. When Wayai and Huiru finally arrive, they are faced with the heartbreaking reality of that decision. It becomes one of the most emotional moments in their lives. Dingshan and Huanxin are gone. Their hands remain tightly held together as if they chose to walk into silence side by side. Seeing this, Wayai and Huiru can no longer hold back their grief. They embrace each other and break down. A few days later, at the funeral of Dingshan and Huanxin, Hui Ru tells Weijie that the opera group has taken back Mrs. Q's house. The teacher has been forced to move into a nursing home, and as a result, Hui Ru has lost her place to stay. With no other option, she plans to return to her hometown. At the funeral, Weijie notices something that deeply unsettles him. The children of Dingshan and Huanxin show little emotion over their parents' deaths. They deliver polished speeches filled with empty words, while the ceremony itself is arranged in a way that feels more grand than sincere. Unable to hold back any longer, Weijie explodes. With the whip in his hand, he creates a scene, letting out all the anger he has been carrying. He reveals the truth without hesitation, how Dingshan and Huanxin lived in poverty, enduring unbearable suffering. While none of their children truly cared for them. Even in their final moments, they carefully planned their deaths to look like an accident, just to protect their children from blame. Because of the disturbance, Weijie is taken to the police station. In the end, the children agree to settle the matter and even kneel to apologize. But before leaving, Weijie delivers one final remark, making it clear how deeply disappointed he is in them. That night, at an amusement park, Weijie and Hui Ru sit together on a Ferris wheel, quietly shedding tears. They think about how Dingshan and Huanxin spent their entire lives working hard to raise their children, only to end up in loneliness and pain. It leaves them questioning the meaning of life, as if the only thing that truly lasts is the love between two people. Sometime later, Hui Ru finally returns to her hometown. Weijie respects her decision, but after seeing her leave, his heart feels empty once again. He slowly falls back into his old habits, and drinking alcohol and struggling to sleep through the night. One day, he visits Mrs. Q's house and finds a letter left behind by Hui Ru. In the letter, Hui Ru shares that she has also lost someone she once loved, which is why she understands the weight of regret and the pain left behind. She knows they are no longer young, and if one of them leaves first, the other will have to face life alone. Because of that, she does not dare to hope for too much. Instead, she chooses to hold on to the beautiful memories they shared and continue living her life quietly. She writes that when she was with Weijie, she felt young again. She even describes that time as the brightest moment of her life. And for her, those memories alone are already enough to give her life meaning. At first, Weijie tries to accept the situation. He convinces himself that missing each other from afar might be enough. But the emptiness inside him does not fade. Instead, it only grows heavier. He goes back to the park, hoping to clear his mind. But even there, he feels out of place. People gather around another commotion, yet he only watches from a distance, exhausted and disconnected, like a stranger who no longer belongs anywhere. Memories of Hui Ru keep replaying in his head, mixed with thoughts about death. He begins to see them like elephants walking toward their final resting place, but at the same time, he realizes they could also be like birds leaving a cage, free to begin again. And he no longer wants to reject a new beginning, just because he is afraid of losing it. Overwhelmed by emotion, Weijie suddenly collapses. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a hospital with his son by his side. Not long after, he notices another elderly man nearby, completely broken after losing his wife. Seeing that pain so clearly, something inside Weijie shifts. Without hesitation, he makes a decision. He will go to Hui Ru's hometown and fight for his love one more time. When he finally stands in front of her, Weijie speaks with a clarity he has never had before. He realizes that the fear of losing someone should not push people apart but bring them closer. He admits that he cannot imagine his days without her. Even at their age, as long as they are still alive, they deserve to live fully and love wholeheartedly. Weijie makes a promise. No matter what happens, whether in sickness or in health, whether in hardship or comfort, he will never leave her until his final breath. That confession becomes the emotional peak of his journey. A moment of courage, choosing love despite the limits of time and life. So the moral of the story is sometimes the people who love us the most suffer in silence. And if we wait too long to care or to say what we feel, we might only realize their pain when they are already gone.